أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Oh Lord, show us the good as good and help us to stay with it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and bless us to stay away from it with your mercy. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. So we're starting a new topic today. Yay. The 20th Flash on Sincerity, and Mariam O, you will be reading you'll be reading the first point. So you'll be going all the way before the second cause. All right, so you'll be reading the first as well. So whenever you're ready, please begin.
Twentieth Flash on Sincerity. While being the first of the 5 points, which from the second of the 7 matters of the 17th Flash, this became the 20th Flash because of its importance. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. The verse, Verily we sent the book down to you in truth, so worship God in sincerity, for God's sincerity is a sincerely practiced religion. And the noble saying prophet, all men will perish except the scholars, and all scholars will perish except those who act in accordance with their knowledge, and all of them will perish except the sincere, and even the sincere are in great danger. Demonstrate together how important a principle of Islam is sincerity. For among the innumerable points concerning sincerity, we will briefly expound only 5. Note, an auspicious sign of blessed Isparta, which causes one to offer thanks, is that compared with other places, there is no visible rivalry and dispute between the pious, those who follow the Sufi path, and religious scholars. Even if the required true love and union is not present, comparatively speaking, there is no harmful rivalry and conflict. The first point, an important, awesome question. Why is it that while the worldly and neglectful and even the misguided hypocrites cooperate without rivalry, the people of religion, the religious scholars, and those who follow the Sufi path oppose each other in rivalry, although they are the people of truth and concord? Agreement belongs in reality to the people of concord and dispute to the hypocrites. How is it that these two have changed places? The answer, we will set forth 7 of the extremely numerous causes of this painful, disgraceful, and awesome situation, one that causes the zealous to weep.
Thank you for that wonderful reading, Mariam. So again, we are on the 20th Flash on Sincerity. I think just to, in my mind, what I was thinking about it, this is a very interesting topic because it's, at least for starters, it's not something that necessarily has a manifest a manifestation of it, like physically speaking. Like you can't really in a way it really requires one to do inner work and inner reflection. So as I read these, or as we delve into this idea of sincerity for myself, and I guess with the first question, which we'll get to, we'll further see where it takes us. So I guess we can begin with I'll just share some of my thoughts, and then we can start and see if anyone has any questions. And I do apologize for any background noise that may make its way to the mic. So I think this verse from the Quran and as well as the Hadith is also one I think that's important and also interesting. I've personally been thinking about this Hadith before, where it says, "All men will perish except the scholars, and all scholars will perish except those who act in accordance with their knowledge, and all of them will perish except the sincere, and even the sincere are in great danger." Alongside the verse that says, "Verily," I was looking at another translation here. It says, "Indeed, we have sent down to you the book in truth, so worship God sincere to Him in religion." So whatever it means, or at face value, it's not enough to be a scholar per se, or one who possesses a lot of knowledge and or information, and it says even those scholars will perish, and of those only those who act in accordance with their knowledge. So there is still this physical manifestation of the application of that knowledge that's implied here, and even those will perish except those who are sincere. Something that's very mysterious, it almost seems. And so I guess to kind of segue to the first question or the first point, I mean, I think there is a lot that we can further discuss. I'm just wondering about this idea of being sincere in one's idea. Oftentimes there's this idea that I've been told, like, sincere intentions in and of themselves are also not enough. Like there needs to be, although that may not be the main point here, there needs to be I guess working my way backwards from the Hadith, there needs to be knowledge and proper knowledge that accompanies the intention, but the intention being the core or the center of one's actions or thoughts and motivations. So I guess, let me take a pause here to see if anyone has any thoughts that they'd like to share, or any questions or anything that in particular has attracted their attention. And we can move on to the first point, inshallah. Please go ahead, Mariam.
So just to review what you're saying, what you said was, so like an example is, if you're a scholar, just being a scholar isn't enough. You have to show with your actions that you connect with your creator. And in every action, you must see what your creator has given to you and how you can connect with your creator in that way. Like just having the name tag of scholar isn't enough.
Yeah, I know that was a question, but I think that was a great point that you made there too. Is having the label of scholar enough? Or I think maybe we can kind of offer this to the other participants as well. What does it mean? What am I to understand here with, what it means by scholars? Is it one who, has knowledge or has studied certain something? And what does it mean to perish? It keeps saying perish, they'll perish. And it's definitely not something that I want to do or have it happen to me. But maybe if others would like to chime in on their thoughts about regarding Mariam's question and how we're supposed to understand this, the sequence of men perishing, but even of the men except the scholars, and even of the scholars except those who act in accordance with their knowledge, and even them there at those who are sincere, and even those who are sincere are at great danger. So it seems as if nothing is 100% protected or safe. Go ahead, Freya. Thank you.
So Hatice, your question is, what does scholar mean? I don't know, perhaps I'm thinking maybe a teacher, someone that has knowledge of the subject matter and is available as a resource to disseminate it to those looking to learn something. Just a thought.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I think that makes sense, and I think also just to add on to it, particularly in this context, perhaps a scholar is one. It somehow has to be connected with this whatever this sincerity or being sincere means. If we go back to the verse where it says, "We have sent the book down to you in truth, so worship God in sincerity." That's interesting as well. So somehow this sense of sincerity being connected to worship in God and something being truthful. Um, so whatever the scholar is, as you said, one whom I may go to to further, learn about something, but it's not necessarily anything, but as we've always spoken from an existential perspective here, one who further helps me understand my reality as a human being um, is what I would understand. But please go ahead, Freya.
Assalamu alaikum. Hassan here. So just to add to your comments, very beautiful, mashallah, everything. So I think the verse and the hadith are kind of, I feel that they're related because since they're all both pointing out to what sincerity is and how sincerity is important, as the author also highlights that. So in terms of like all men will perish, so except those scholars, basically somebody who is, I would say, looking in search of the truth. They are investigating and they're seeing, trying to understand the meaning, but then I can say that, hey, I have all this knowledge, but as in terms of the information, but am I really applying that to my human side? That could be something that, when you act in accordance, that's what that would entail. I would think that, basically whatever, scholarly information, knowledge that you have, are you practicing it? Are you living that kind of in your daily life? Is that being practiced? So that's what I think the knowledge will perish, mean it will not help you, whatever you accumulate or in the kind of worldly sense, but if it's not being really practiced per se, or it's not being, I would say, ingrained into your human being self, like, it becomes part of you, that this is how your personality or your worldview doesn't change with that, and how you see the world, then it just perishes because it just doesn't go with you, because whatever you kind of conclude is what stays. And so that's why the sincerity, I think, would tie into like living that kind of whatever the message that you are not or searching for the truth that you're going through, because the verse also kind of highlights that there's guidance for you, which is it's just given in truth, down to you in truth, that there is the reality of things, and you want the duty of the human being is to look and search for that reality, for that truth. And so the worship of God in sincerity, for God is sincerely practiced religion. So the practice part comes there also, that whatever you are understanding in terms of the truth, your worldview kind of goes along with that. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. I think that was very, very beautiful and helpful comment, connecting the two, the hadith and the verse together. So one who, a scholar, or even I think, as it kind of like goes through from kind of like a funnel, expands, or rather um, zooms in on the one who is sincere from all of mankind. Um, it's one who is in search of truth, as you said, and that truth having as being as part of being a human being with a physical body as well, kind of having that, or living with the reality of the truth, not just it being a sort of theoretical framework in my mind. And also there was one other thing I was going to say, which I thought, oh yes, so this one question that also came to my mind as I was listening to you then was, um, the sense of perishing again, then trying to understand in what sense will I perish? Will I perish in the way of truth then? If you know, going through these different stages is just one question I'm just going to throw out there for now. But I do see Ali Murmur's hand is up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Asim's comment on combining the hadith and the verse mentioned here in order to explain each other. It was a good start. Thank you. Now we are going to read not a very long, but not very short either, a text. This text is a commentary, practical commentary on practical means, really. How are we going to practice what this verse refers to in our life? So that is why it is important to concentrate on the verse and try to prepare our minds that what we are going to look for as an answer in the following text in order to comprehend somehow, as much as possible, the content of the verse that is mentioned here. The verse seems to be in a simple reading, says, verily we sent down the book, or we sent the book down to you in truth. Now, what does it mean? Sending the book in truth, or making the truth clear to you. There are various ways of reading this. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ. And this B has many meanings. They translate it in truth, but in order to make truth clear for you, to explain what truth is, so we will explain it in a way that you can really confirm it, because haq means really another meaning of haq, or the truth, translated in English as truth, means making certain that this is really correct. I can confirm it. So it says, therefore, worship God in sincerity. It means sincerely worship God. Worship, because worshiping God in sincerity, understand, sincerely worship God. It's so that if you understand the truth in the book which is revealed to you, it enables you to worship God sincerely. Or we don't know what sincerity at this stage. Hadith will explain us. So in other words, this is verse number 1. Why am I wrong? This is, yeah, Zumar. Yeah, in other verses, and something is missing here, because there must be another verse here, because God's the religion. Let's make it simple. The translation, I found it a bit complicated. But we need to explain the concepts here. Religion, the religion belongs to God. And the following verse says, isn't that true that the sincere religion belongs to God? Sincere religion. Of course, there are many concepts here we have to study. We will bear in mind. First, let's put one side sending the or revealing the book to human beings, we are not going to discuss this. Well, how do we know? No, it is not our subject for the moment. I think Fariha wants to talk. Maybe it's related. I should stop here. Then, because this analysis of the verse is really important and may take long. So,
Fariha, I guess if whatever you had to say is related, actually, if you can share it so that inshallah we can continue. Please go.
Inshallah, we can have Brother Ali continue on, but there was just like one point that was mentioned that just struck my attention. First of all, I really liked the idea about haq, or the truth. You know, we send the book down to you in truth, really making the truth clear to me. Because, and also because Brother Ali mentioned about like what is sincerity, like, so in that regards, because I think pertaining to my existence, like we're all trying to make sense of our existence, trying to understand you know, what this existence means for us. And so I think sincerity in that regard, because we wanna make sure that we're getting a clear picture of the whole point of being given existence here, or in other words, what is the purpose of my existence? So sincerity would be in regards to getting the answers that the human being find themselves with, the answers, the existential questions that we are all encoded with. This is all, you know, part of it. And so really, although we may have some ideas here and there, you know, with whatever is presented to us, society, civilization, household, friends, communities, whatever offers to us, but then is this it? Because our experiences are so vast and rich and diverse that, yeah, you know, we want to make sure that things are clear to us. And also the reason I brought this up is because, you know, everybody wants to make their existence meaningful, because we all say, yeah, you know, yeah, that's my way of life. I follow this. It's the, you know, I'm looking for a way of life. And so really, is this it? You know, we all have this question. Okay, so is, you know, can this be it? So really the whole point about sincerity. But inshallah, let's see what others have to say, and then we can unpack some more on really understand.
Thank you. So I mean, I think, you know, your emphasis was on essentially like the fundamental premise for me in approaching both just, you know, verses in general, but also specifically this verses as well, in sincerity being, you know, for me, and like an endeavor to attain truth for myself in trying to find answers to my human questions. So Brother Ali, please go ahead.
no, we have to understand that we need to understand that we are going to read a text on sincerity. So sincerity is going to be explained. So this introduction to the subject prepares our mind that we are going to understand the sincerity as it is mentioned in the Quran, which says simply, religion, the sincere religion belongs to God. The sincere religion belongs to God. So we have to understand, we have to have in our mind that what is the sincerity, so that religion will be sincere. And in order to have a sincere religion, my religion must belong to God. So that is what we are going to deal with now. We are going to learn in the text now. So we need to understand this verse. The hadith narration saying of the prophet narration helps us. Although the translation says all men will perish except the scholars, it means scholar is not the appropriate translation, except the one who knows. Scholar specifically used for a person who's expert on the subject. No, the hadith doesn't mean this. The one who knows. So if I understand that I am a man, but I know nothing, it means I wasted my time. But what comes next? To know something, to learn something. We are here to learn. So I learned something. Am I saved now? The text says, the hadith, the saying of the prophet says, no, you will perish as well. It is not enough. As Miriam said, for example, if I invite you to my house, I say, well, you came to my house, but I don't know anything. Let's talk about food. I don't know to cook anything. I know nothing. So they say, oh, now why did you call us then here? Why did you invite us? But one step ahead, no, I know how to make brown rice. Okay. Is it enough? You say, okay, you know how to make brown rice, but it is no good for me. What do I know? What do I need to do? Those who act in accordance with their knowledge. You will say, no, you know how to make brown rice. Why don't you make it? Why don't you do it? If you don't do it, it is no good. Knowing how to cook brown rice is no good in practical terms, because we are talking about religion. Religion is something to do with practical life. Implication of one's understanding in their life is called religion. So hadith continues, and all of the people who know knowledge perish except sincere. If I make rice, cook rice, invite you, but I'm not offering to you. Yes, in the kitchen, there is rice. I am going step by step now, but I'm not offering to you. In my attitude, while I am making the rice, must be to offer it to you, so that if I don't offer it to you, if I don't fulfill my intention, then it is in the kitchen, cooked, rice ready, maybe nice, but as long as I don't offer you, it means if I don't put it into practice, the purpose of making the rice into practice is no good. Again, I am worth nothing. Helek, which means perished. It means I am nothing. My making rice is pointless. Then even the sincere are in great danger. What? What are you saying? Look, I learned, I cooked, and I offered it to you. I put it into practice. I offered the rice to you. And do you think, am I still subject to perish? The hadith says, yes, you are. Until what? How can I save myself from perishing. Quran's verse answers this now. Mukhlisan lahuddin, lahu. Sincerely, your activity of offering the rice must be for God that you worship. And you learn this God and how to worship this God in the book that we revealed. Do you get the connection now between the hadith and the hadith helps us to understand the verse, and also verse helps us to understand the hadith, vice versa. Now, they mutually explain each other. So if I offer the rice to you, what is missing there? Because I didn't make my offering rice to you, this practical offering for acknowledgement, for worship of God. I may not have done it because I have to offer the rice, but I have to have another step ahead in my action. One step ahead. I must offer it not in order to satisfy myself, but in order to acknowledge my creator, the creator of the ability to learn, creator of the ability to cook, creator of the ability to offer, to understand that you need food. Who is it? He is the one whom I worship. What means everything, every stage of my actions belongs to him, to the one who guided me, who sent the book to me with the truth. Now, if you remember, from time to time in our discussions, we talk about the meaning of the book as having two different dimensions. One is the action that we are experiencing in the creation, in the world. This is a book, written book, in front of my eyes. Then I can read the universe, and another verbal expression of the same truth, explaining, revealing, teaching who the author of this book of the universe, who is the author of this speech, which is written in the form of a book. Who is the speaker of this? So I have to read the universe. I have to read the revelation in order to understand the speaker, the creator, who is revealing himself to me. So when we see that the book as stating the truth, the reality, which means I can comfortably confirm it. Yes, for example, if you invite me to your house and you cook perfect brown rice, I know that you learned how to cook the rice. I know that you have done it and you offered it to me. I know that you offered to me. Yeah, but while you are offering, you appropriate this action to yourself and being proud of it and bragging about it and waiting for my appreciation of you, not the creator of you, not the creator of the rice. I say, this man is imposing himself on me, who is not the creator of himself, who is not the creator of the knowledge, who is not the creator of the cooking and offering actions. And he is waiting for appreciation, appropriating all the things to himself, rather than appropriating all these actions to the one who is the owner of the universe, who is my owner, the owner of human beings, and we have to acknowledge him alone as the source of existence of everything. That is what we are going to look for, the meaning of sincerity. And the text will explain it to us in terms of practice. This text and the following text, 20th Flash and the 21st Flash, are about, as we have been reading, the treaties for elderly and treaties for the youth on youth. These are practical aspect of belief. Belief is a theory. It is an intellectual understanding, intellectual activity. But these pieces that we have been reading, and also we are going to read the 20th Flash, is practical side of our belief. So we will be careful and we will be waiting for an explanation of how to practice my belief that I worship God. What does it mean? God needs to be worshipped. How can I do it? Now, these are practical examples. I think this is just an introduction and what I understood from it.
Thank you for that. That's very helpful to me, at least, and hopefully having the right mindset and perspective as we further approach the text. And my understanding in a nutshell would be, in I guess, as whatever actions that I fulfill, whatever in whatever I do, I need to not only do it with the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge, I need that in order to do it, but I need to fulfill the correct purpose for which that knowledge exists, so that I can do this action with the mindset, or as it looking to its ultimate aim, or as far as I'm concerned, meaning that furthering my understanding of my reality for me, by acknowledging what this action, what in me performing this action, what it looks to, and that being worship, as in getting to know my creator in fulfilling or performing a certain action. And I know that's very vague, but I think the rice example was much more simply and clearly put. So we do have a question, comment. Let me see. Mariam Rayan, would you like to read your question or comment, please?
So I gave a comment that when you don't help someone, even though you notice them, you are unconscious of reality.
Oh, thank you. That's a great comment. I think that better summarizes what was just said than the gibberish that I said. So what I understand from what you said is in not questioning, you said when you don't help someone, even though you notice them, you're unconscious of your reality, right? So when I do help them, I also, being conscious of my reality would mean for what purpose, what is the ultimate purpose for which I'm helping them for is. So thank you for sharing and reading your comment out loud. I'm just going to take one final pause here to see if there are any comments or questions before we delve into the first point, please feel free to say anything that's on your mind. Okay, so if not, then we can go back to the first point. Oh, Mariam, please go ahead.
Before we do that, could I share my notes?
I mean, we're going to read or look at the same. Yeah, go ahead. Actually, why not? Go ahead. I would love to hear it at this point.
Wait, are we on the same thing? Because
For me, yes.
okay.
I'll make sure that we come back to your notes before we go on to new text. Okay. So bearing in mind everything that's been said about this being also a practical the practical aspect of belief as well, and not just the theoretical framework. So the first point here asks a question in regards to the practical aspect, and that being about why these people that are worldly and neglectful, and even the misguided and the hypocrites, they cooperate with one another without rivalry. And while at the same time, there are instances when people of religion and religious scholars, and even those who follow the Sufi path, they instead oppose one another in rivalry. And although they are people of truth and concord. So the question being trying to understand if, going back to the verse and the hadith again, one who the book being sent down in truth, so one who questions their own reality and the book, as was saying, the book of the universe, as well as the speech of one's creator within its proper context of trying to understand one's own reality for themselves, and in doing so, going through this process and journey of questioning the source of existence of things and the qualities, the source of existence of the qualities, and in doing so, not appropriating certain actions to themselves, but rather to its proper source, thereby worshiping God, thereby being sincere in their actions or in their worship. So if the question being, why is it that when we look at the practical aspect of things, that people who are meant to be people of truth or reality, then practically speaking, instead we see that there is rivalry instead. So and the answer, the author says, he will explain them in 7 different sections, it seems. So maybe Mariam, if you want to give your summaries now, and then after your summary notes, we can go to the first cause, it seems, if there are no objections.
Okay. So my notes for the 20th Flash, the first point, was if you are a scholar, just being a scholar isn't enough. You have to show with your actions. With every action, you must connect with your creator. With every gift, you must thank your creator. With every want, you must With every gift, with every prayer, think something else. With every prayer, with every want, you must pray too. With every want, you must pray to your creator. Just having the name tag of scholar isn't enough to really be one. Sincere religion belongs to God. If you have to act according to your knowledge. If you don't, the knowledge is useless. Use your knowledge for the correct purpose. Worship could mean getting to know your creator through an action. Direct your actions toward the creator of it. Be sincere. That was my last note.
Thank you. That was great. And I see multiple applauses in the chat for you. Thank you. Very helpful. So I think, inshallah, here we can jump into the first. So Mariam, or if you would like to, or if you don't mind, maybe we could also hear Mariam and Rayan as well. Maybe we could do paragraph by paragraph. So if Mariam and Rayan are available to read, maybe we could have them read the paragraph by paragraph. Or they could just, if you're available to read, maybe you could do like a little yes check mark, and if not, you could do a little no.
Yes, we can read.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
The answer. We will set forth 7 of the extremely numerous causes of this painful, disgraceful, and awesome situation, one that causes the zealous to weep.
The first, just as dispute among the people of the truth does not arise from lack of the truth, so too the agreement prevailing among the people of neglect does not arise from any possession of truth. Rather, it is that a specific duty and particular function has been assigned to the classes in society, like the worldly, those engaged in politics, and those who have received a secular education, and thus the functions of the various groups, societies, and communities have been defined and become distinguished from one another. Similarly, the material reward they are to receive for their functions in order to maintain a livelihood, as well as the moral reward that consists in the attention they receive from men for the sake of their ambition and pride. This too is established and specified. There is therefore nothing held in common to the degree that it might produce conflict, dissension, and rivalry. However evil be the path that they tread, they will be able to preserve unity and agreement.
But as for the people of religion, the scholars, and those who follow the path, the duty of each is concerned with all men. Their material reward is not set and specified, and their share is in social esteem and acceptance, and public attention is not predetermined. Many may be candidates for the same position. Many hands may stretch out for each moral and material reward that is offered. Hence, it is that conflict and rivalry arise. Concord is changed into discord, the agreement into dispute.
Now the cure and remedy for this appalling disease is sincerity. Sincerity may be attained by preferring the worship of God to the worship of one's own soul.
I'm sorry, Mariam. Your voice is very muffled right now. Do you think you can maybe speak closer to your device and start from the beginning of that sentence?
Okay.
But it's more muffled now. Can you try one more time? Maybe we could test out your voice. It was okay before.
Now the cure and remedy for this appalling disease is sincerity. Sincerity may be attained by preferring the worship of God to the worship of one's own soul, by causing God's pleasure to vanquish the pleasure of the soul and the ego, and thus manifesting the meaning of the verse, Verily, my reward is from God alone. By renouncing the material and moral reward to be had from men, and thus manifesting the meaning of the verse, not is incumbent on the messenger, but conveying the message. And by knowing that such matters as goodly acceptance and making a favorable impression and gaining the attention of men are God's concern and a favor from Him, and that they play no part in conveying the message, which is one's own duty, nor are they necessary for it, nor is one charged with gaining them. By knowing this, a person will be successful in gaining sincerity, otherwise, it will vanish.
Thank you. And as Faria noted here, we can maybe go ahead and read the footnotes here. As Faria highlights them, you guys can take turns reading them. That would be great. We're not completely able to see the entirety of the footnote there. So maybe, let me see. Maybe I can read that one since that's on the side of the page. Or please go ahead. I think we should be fine since you've extended the page. Yeah, there you go. Please, Mariam and Ryan, if you can read those one at a time as well.
The footnotes?
Yep, the ones that Faria is highlighting.
The worldly, those people whose view is restricted to the life of this world and who disregard the hereafter, or those who sell religion for this world. Be aware that the attention of men cannot be demanded, but only given. If it is given, one should not delight in it. If one delights in it, sincerity is lost and hypocrisy takes its place. The attention of men, if accompanied by the desire for honor and fame, it is not a reward and a prize, but a reproach and chastisement for lack of sincerity. Such attention of men, such honor and fame, harm society, the source of vitality for all good deeds, and even though they yield a slight pleasure as far as the gate of the tomb, on the other side of that gate they take on the form of torment. One should not therefore desire the attention of men, but flee and shy away from it. Be warned, all you who worship fame and run after honor and rank.
And there's one more.
Okay, sorry. One should also take as one's guide the quality of preferring others to oneself, the same quality of the companions that is praised in the Quran. For example, when giving a present or performing an act of charity, one should always prefer the recipient to oneself, and without demanding or inwardly desiring any material reward for religious service. But one's act to be purely God's grace and not impose a sense of obligation on men. Nothing worldly should be sought in return for a religious service, for otherwise sincerity will be lost. Men have many rights and claims, and may even deserve zakat, but it cannot be demanded. When one receives something, it cannot be said, "This is the reward for my service." Rather, in perfect contentment, one should always prefer to oneself others who are more deserving, thus manifesting the meaning of they prefer others to themselves, though poverty be their lot. One may be saved from this terrible danger and gain sincerity.
Thank you to our readers for their reading. And thank you as well to Faria for pointing out the footnotes as well. So I guess we can begin with my initial takeaways from this first point that's addressing this question that the author has posed to us as well. So he's saying that the dispute among the people of truth are not rather from the lack of truth, but rather, he says, the agreement prevailing among the people of neglect does not arise from any possessions of the truth. So he's saying the discord that we see among the people of truth and maybe the lack of rivalry among the people, the worldly and the neglectful and the misguided and the hypocrites, are not from a lack of truth versus truthfulness. So he starts off with that claim. And then he further goes on to say that a specific duty and particular function has been assigned to the classes in society, like the worldly, those engaged in politics, who have received a secular education, and thus the functions of the various groups, societies, and communities have been defined and become distinguished from one another. I mean, I think, like, generally speaking, the first point here kind of makes this distinction between those people of truth and, you know, the people, the worldly, as the text claims, kind of this distinction between the two of them. And, you know, for the people of truth, their duty being not necessarily a material reward that's set and specified, nor any sort of social esteem or public attention, not being a sort of an expected reward of their efforts or of their duties. So he says that, I'm trying to understand as well, many may be candidates for the same position, many hands may stretch out for each moral material reward that is offered for the people of truth, since the reward is not one that is material, whereas for but he says that the conflict and the rivalry arise because of this very fact, and I guess because of the fact that since the reward is not necessarily determined or necessarily material in one respect, many may stretch out their hands for any sort of material or moral reward, as the text says. And this is kind of where the line can get blurry, and where due to a lack of sincerity, then this rivalry arises. So what I understand as well is this rivalry being caused among the people of truth is not from a lack of truth, but rather because of a lack of sincerity. In a nutshell, that's what I understand. And so he further goes on to say that then how this sincerity can be attained by preferring you know, worship of God to one's own self, and as one of the footnotes was saying, always another to one's own soul or nefs, as the original word might have it. And then he connects these ideas to the two verses, "Verily my reward is with God alone, and not is incumbent on the messenger, but conveying the message." So the sense of sincerity being for like almost not almost but not for any necessarily material or moral reward, but for directly, I guess, related to one's own, you know, one's own need for an understanding of their own reality, for worship of God, in getting to know their own reality, in attributing things to their proper source. And in one's efforts, that final product or whatever comes about it is not what one is responsible for, or it's not mandated, or it's not a reflection of one's quote unquote efforts, but rather just as the verse says, conveying the message. So just doing what is possible from one's own behalf. So, and then he ends with saying, by knowing that such matters as goodly acceptance and making a favorable impression and gaining an attention of men are God's concerns and a favor from him, and that they play no part in conveying the message. So the final result is not, is not a result of my quote unquote efforts, which is one's own duty, nor are necessary for it, nor is one charged with gaining them. By knowing this, a person will be successful in gaining sincerity, otherwise it will vanish. So I guess having some sort of material expectations of, in doing something for, I think we can definitely further expound upon what it means for my reward is from God alone. What does that mean? What does it mean for, to say a reward there? Just because, especially in these classes, we've been talking about this sort of relationship not being transactional with God. So what type of, maybe perhaps I'm expecting a sort of transactional I'm having a sort of transactional relationship with God that I expect something, maybe a reward in another sense, maybe a material sense, that causes me to um, not be sincere in my efforts. But those are just some very scattered initial thoughts. So I'd like to also take a pause here to see if anyone has any comments or questions or anything interesting that they've noticed. Fariha, I see your hand up, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Hatice. I applaud you, first of all, for really doing, your best to try to help us understand this text. And there's a lot here. And to be honest, I personally feel very, I don't even have any words. Like things are just like scattered. I'm like, what is this? What is the author trying to tell me here? And so I want to first like decipher a little bit the question, like what is being posed here? Like, what is it? So because it seems like there are two distinctions being made. The author is talking about a worldview, like when he says the worldly, like a worldview that has just an understanding of horizontal connection with everything. Okay, so that's what I'm taking of it. So that worldview, the horizontal worldview, versus a worldview that helps me connect my existence beyond the horizontal level. So we're first of all talking about two worldviews. And so within that, so the question is, why is it that the people who follow an understanding of a horizontal worldview, so people who follow an understanding of a horizontal worldview, why is it that they don't have any sort of rivalry or competition in their endeavors, as opposed to people who follow a should we say vertical, like a vertical worldview, or a worldview
seeking the truth,
related to belief, or seeking the truth type of worldview. So the question is, like, how come there's no rivalry in between and the first worldview, which is the horizontal worldview? There's no rivalry, it seems, as opposed to the truth seeker worldview. There's rivalry in it. So that's the question. That's how I'm understanding the question. And then agreement belongs to people of, so that's interesting, even the question itself. Okay, so I think it's also a matter of, in terms of endeavors, because horizontal relationship, I'm just within the world here, within, my understanding is just bound to here. So there's really not much, no ultimate purpose to my existence, as opposed to as a truth seeker, I'm looking for an ultimate truth, right? And then sitting down with I'm looking for a purpose, and I'm sitting down with other truth seekers, and then we're all looking for an ultimate purpose or ultimate end goal to our existence. So So I don't know, the question seems to be as such. I don't know, let's see if people are in, if that makes sense. You can, with the question. I mean, this is how I took it. If that's that, then the way he's proposing the answer, the first, I'm like, wait a minute, what's he talking about? Because, that's the part he mentions about the truth seeker, wait. Yeah, so sorry. He's talking about the people with the horizontal worldview. They're looking for anything they're doing is for ambition and pride right here, right? So, as well as the moral reward that consists in the attention he received from men for the sake for ambition and pride, right? So anything that I'm doing within a horizontal worldview is for ambition and pride, really ego, my ego. And so I don't really see how the ego is not playing in with the people who are seeking the truth. I mean, I don't know, for me, there seems to be a discordance. I don't know, maybe the author is saying something else. That's how I'm understanding it, because he's saying there is therefore nothing held in common to the degree that might produce conflict. Because if I'm just working it for my ego, then I'm not competing with others. But as for the people of religion, the truth seeker who follow the path, the duty of each is concerned with all men, their material reward, and then let me see what else. And their share in social esteem. So like, yeah, well, what's up here? I mean, I don't see the much of distinction here, because the ego is always with man. I mean, so I'm just, curious to know what your takes are on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and question, Fadia. So I guess just to reiterate your last question, it was this inability to see the difference between the quote unquote worldly here and the quote unquote people of truth, because in the worldly, where it says, for them kind of striving to for the sake of their ambition and pride, but one is never exempt from those things. So how do we kind of see the difference between them and the people of truth is what I understand your question to be. So if I've misunderstood anything, you can please feel free to correct me.
Thank you for beautifully putting it in good words.
Okay, great. Please, Ali Murmur, go ahead.
Now, the question is very legitimate, very clear, but in order to understand the case first, so that we can come up with an answer to the question, everybody can get the answer to the question from his or her perspective. Now, if I go to a, let's say, store, and I say, how much is this item? And he says, $1. Okay, here is $1 and give me the item. That's it. I mean, there is no way to dispute. The item that I am buying is clear there, and then I get it. When I get it, there is no dispute. So if I go to the store and I ask the store owner, do you have, let me say, for example, rice? He says rice, yes, but not with me. I can get it for you. If I say, how much is it? He says, let's say $1 a pound. Okay, but there's no rice in the store. he said, I'm going to get it. So what I am going to receive as rice is not there in the store. So he says, come 2 days later, and I will give you the rice. I say, here is the money, and I go. 2 days later, go back to the store and ask the store owner, where is my rice? And he gives me a kind of rice that, oh, I wasn't expecting. This is a very cheap and not good quality rice. And he says, no, this we said about the rice, and this is the rice. The dispute may appear now, may occur, correct? Dispute may occur because what I am expected to get is not clear in the language of Fariha used, not an horizontal relationship, it's a vertical relationship. It means when I do an action, and if I get the result here in this world in a material form, so the universe provides me with the material reward that I am looking for, then I can get the reward and I'm satisfied. Why should I dispute? Because I wanted to buy this rice and I bought it and I got the rice I meant to have it. But if the rice is not clear, there are various different kinds of rice. So if I don't know the reward that not the reward, what I am buying in the example, then when the item comes to my reach, or the seller gives me the rice, if I don't get it as I expected, the dispute may occur between us. Now, it doesn't mean that the first transaction was made on sincerity. The second transaction was not made on sincerity. It doesn't show it because sincerity is not clear there. Because of the agreement between the people who are sharing this world in material terms, because the objects of the matter is clear, there is no way to dispute about it. I did this job and you got this result. It is obvious. That is why there is no dispute between the people of the world. It means those people who acknowledge the reward in this world, in this material world, in the form of material benefit. For example, I have a partnership with somebody and start a company in order to make money. So we make the money. As long as I get my share, there is no dispute. It doesn't mean that we are sincere. No, the result is in the material form and I got it. Whereas those people who work for the sake of religion, for the sake of truth, where is the result? Not in this world. The result is not in the material form that I can get it and put it in my wallet. No, it is not there. The result is not known to me. Only the one who is going to create, who is going to evaluate the result is God. And it is with God, with the Creator. He will reward it. That's why the text says, verily, my reward is from God alone. in ajriya illa ala Allah. It means God will decide about my reward. It's not in material form. God will say, okay, you did it rightly, you did it wrongly, whatever. He will be the judge, and he will be the one who presents the reward. And it's not in the material form, so I don't know what I am going to get. Whereas in material relationship, I know what I am going to get. When I get it, the matter is settled. But if I don't know what I am going to get, then I may say, okay, whether God is pleased with what I did and what you did, yours is right, mine is right. It is God who decides. We don't know. There is no material form that what, for example, Fariha explained something. You presented, the moderator H. Beza presented something about this first cause, and Fariha explained something. I am trying to explain something. Everybody wants to do something good in order to understand this text and benefit for us. But can we make sure that Fariha's explanation, your H. Beza's explanation, or my explanation is really correct, and God accepted mine, not yours? Can I make sure about it? No, it is with God. So what I do now, I must make it, because the result is not clear, we may start competing between ourselves, saying that, no, my explanation is better than Fariha's explanation. Fariha's explanation is better than H. Beza's explanation, because the result is not clear, is not in a material form. So we may compete here because the result is not clear. But the solution for it, the solution the author offers to us, look, I must present my understanding, just being aware that the messenger's job is nothing but conveying the message, not calculating, not expecting the result. Just, this is what I know as the truth, I am presenting it. Can I guarantee? No. Can I expect any certain amount of reward for it? I don't know. Now the solution is here. I must present my idea, and my friend here presents his or her idea, and leave the result to God to decide about it, rather than competing between ourselves. The author is suggesting us, just do your best in order to convey the message that occurred to your heart, your mind, and don't expect any reward in material form. For example, everybody will applaud me, everybody will esteem me, everybody will thank me. Don't expect anything from anyone. Just expect the reward from God, and the reward is known to God only. Then there will be, inshallah, if we leave the result to God, there would be no competition, no conflict between us. Otherwise, in religious matters, in vertical relationship, in anything that we do for which there is no material reward, substantial reward out there so that I can see, you see, my action is accepted. There is no such thing, so I cannot claim any superiority to or over any of my friends. So I have to say, this is my truth, finish. Wait the result from the reward from God alone. That is the solution for the dispute may occur between the people of religion, people of belief. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very helpful comment for me. So what I understand is basically I need to check myself to see what type of expectations or reward I'm expecting. And it's also interesting because, you know, as opposed to what I would have initially, or maybe like a biased understanding would have been, you know, sincere is not the one who does not expect a reward, but sincere is the one who expects a reward, but it's not in a material sense, one who expects it from God alone. And I guess that ties into one's trying to further expand their understanding of their reality and their existence versus for others, if the reward is then material, then you know that's much more easily visibly or visible. So then the sense of conflict then is resolved because you can kind of just say, hey, this is mine and this is yours as per our discussion. Whereas if your reward or your expectations is something that is not of a material form, then it can cause conflict if I lose sense of that, if I lose sense of, or if I lose sight of that reality, and if I, you know, try to somehow have a physical manifestation or work on, you know, my, or try to, if my striving becomes for some aspect of feeding my ego, is my understanding. So we are out of time. I know, Mariam, your hand was up. I don't know if you had any questions or comments, but if you had any, please feel free to share, as well as any of your notes that you'd like to share. We'd love to hear them before we close, inshallah.
I had a comment and then I also have my notes. Can I share both of those really fast?
Yes, please go ahead.
So my comment wasn't something too big, and it was just like a sort of like a thought that just popped into my head. So I did it was talking about exchanging and stuff like that. So would it be more like in this world it's sort of our job and we have to work to earn money, and when we finally retire from the job, we go to the place that's supposed to take care of us after that. And if we have enough money for that place, then we go there. If we don't, then we pay the price until we realize, I guess. But that's just an example. I don't think that it would be necessarily exactly like that. This is sort of an idea. But then going on to my notes. Oops. So my first added on note was prefer needy or more deserving ones over yourself. People with a horizontal worldview do everything for their egos. Expect a reward from God, but know that the reward is only known to him. If you leave a result to our Creator, there would be no conflict in between me or any other human being or creature. One who expects a non-material reward is sincere. And that was my last note that was added on.
Thank you for both your comment and notes. I think that was a lovely way to kind of summarize the main ideas, and inshallah we can close today. And I think in regards to your comment, maybe, yeah, Faria or Hamim says it's interesting. I thought so as well, but I think maybe if you can make a note of your comment and maybe bring it up again next Sunday, then we can further discuss it too, because I have a feeling others may have comments on it. Inshallah. Great. Maybe we can close with our dua here, Faria. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are